In the name of all that is good, all that is just, all that is righteous, all that is affirming, I greet you today. Welcome to Fox Soul Sunday. It is my absolute pleasure to have this conversation with you, and I have a word for you today. If anything, anybody, any situation that's weighing you down, that's causing you any kind of beleaguerment or pain or distraction or disappointment, we're going to pour into your soul today, because this day is all about reminding us of the fundamental things. I want to talk to you on the subject, honey on the ground, people. It'll make sense in a little while, but I'm telling you, this is the moment where your entire day becomes incredibly better from this moment going forward. And you guys know I love a story. If you watch my show, The Book of Sean, I love a story. There's nothing like a good story. And I stumbled across a story in 1 Samuel chapter 14 that I thought was interesting. A lot of people have read the story, but few people are going to see in it what I was able to see, because this is a great story. Here's how it goes. So the nation of Israel was fighting against the Philistine nation. And in the midst of the battle, King Saul, while they were losing the battle, King Saul put out an edict in the law that said nobody can eat and nobody can drink until we win this battle. And everybody had to go hungry and thirsty to make them drive for victory. It's amazing, this is not part of the story, but it is amazing how people have an expectation, and so they make decisions without understanding how those decisions are going to affect you. But that's a whole nother message for a whole nother day. So Saul puts out an edict and says nobody can eat or drink until we win the battle. His son Jonathan did not hear the law. And while he was walking down a certain path, he saw a beehive with honey flowing out, and it was laying on the ground. There was literally honey on the ground. And so the story says, 1 Samuel 14, that Jonathan took a stick, he put it in the honey, put the honey in his mouth. And the other soldier said, Jonathan, what are you doing? Your father, who is the king, said that nobody can eat and nobody can drink until we win this battle. And Jonathan said, he may be my father, but this is still a bad law. Did you not see how alive I became when I was able to give myself nourishment? That is a great story, and let me tell you why. It's a great story because I think it would be safe to say that most of the time what we want and what we need out of life will not be acquired without great sacrifice. Let's say this clearly right now. The great majority of what you want out of life, you are going to have to fight for. Much of what you are trying to accomplish with who you are, with your children, with your relationship, with your profession, with your money, whatever it is, most of the time you're going to have to fight. And let me remind you, write this down. It is a melancholy truth that the promise of sacrifice is victory. I said the promise of sacrifice is victory. If you are willing to sacrifice, you will probably win. And people who don't sacrifice are probably not in candidacy for the victory that they say that they have. Don't tell me you want to be great and you don't want to stay up late. Don't tell me you want to be great and you don't want to wake up early. Don't tell me you want to be great and you don't want to cut your phone off to focus on your craft. Uh-oh. Don't tell me you want to be great. Don't tell me you want to be great and you don't want to adjust the little things in your life. Not hanging out so much, not dating so much, because you tell me you want to be great at something. The promise of sacrifice is victory. I promise you, if you sacrifice enough, you'll have victory before it's all over. And you watch the people around you who talk about victory, who sing about victory, who rap about victory, who tweet about victory, but they don't have any. It's because it's easier to talk about it than it is to sacrifice for it. I want you to follow me on this, because a great many things that you and I desire, it will take struggle to achieve. There's no doubt about it. You're not going to have a great love easy. You're not going to have a great job easy. You're not going to have a great career easy. You're not going to have great kids easy. I'm a living witness. It is a struggle to produce other great human beings. It's a struggle to produce yourself in proximity to your own greatness. If you want anything great, if you want to accomplish anything wonderful and special and incredible, it's going to take struggle and sacrifice. Don't ask for it if you ain't prepared to do what it takes to have it. But there are those moments. I'm smiling because it brings me joy. But there are those moments, those incandescent moments, those moments that hide in the shadows and they sit in the corner and they dance in the dark. There are those moments in life, those rare, empowering moments when against the natural occurrence of things, we do indeed find honey on the ground. There are those moments when we are minding our own business, heading in a particular direction, struggling and sacrificing and working and believing and clawing and climbing and running and jumping. But somewhere between one jump and the next, somewhere between one struggle and the next, somewhere between one difficulty and the one that is to come next, we find honey on the ground. Honey on the ground. It is a metaphor for what happened to Jonathan and a metaphor for whenever we are able to come into contact with something that is absolutely amazing, something that is wonderful, something that is serendipitous, something that just makes you come alive, makes your eyes light up, makes your mind quicken. There are moments in life when you are headed in a deliberate direction and you stumble across something that absolutely blesses you. It changes your life, and you didn't have to fight for it, and you didn't have to struggle for it, and you didn't have to almost die to get it. You were minding your own business, trying to do what was right, and you found honey on the ground. If you don't like that metaphor, let's try this one. You found money on the ground. You found love on the ground. You found opportunity on the ground. You found a new idea on the ground, a better vision of yourself just laying on the ground. You found a new relationship with somebody you cared about just laying on the ground. You didn't have to reach for it. You didn't have to fight for it. You didn't have to sacrifice for it. Every now and then, we do find honey on the ground. And it's a wonderful thing when life puts what you want and what you need in a place that you can reach it. Please understand, write this down. It's not just about finding what you want, because you can find what you want and it can be standing, sitting, hiding in a place that you can't reach it. A honey on the ground moment is when you find what you want and it's actually within your reach. You don't have to go through any arduous circumstance to reach the thing that you have found. Are you following me? A lot of people find people they think are cute, but they can't reach them. A lot of people find jobs that they think are great, but they can't reach them. A lot of people find stages of their lives or cars they want to drive or homes they want to live in, but they can't reach them. A honey on the ground moment means that not only do you find her, but she's available. Not only do you find him, but he's interested. Not only do you see the car, but you have just enough to get the car that you want. It is an amazing moment, and there won't be many days like this, but there will be days, there will be moments, listen to me, there will be incandescent minutes where God puts something sweet within the limits of your reach. Where God puts something amazing within the span of your grasp. And when, let's ask this question. How many times have you found honey on the ground? How many times have you found friendships that you didn't have to fight for? Opportunities and jobs and resources that you didn't have to almost die to get? How many times have you found freedoms and moments of liberation and moments of inspiration that you just stumbled into? You were scrolling looking for something else, and you found something that inspired you for the next 3 weeks. That's a honey on the ground moment. How many times have you had a conversation that you thought was going in one direction but connected you to something else? That's a honey on the... How many times have you received honey on the ground where life and love and grace and mercy and God will put the best of what it has to offer in a place that you can reach it? And let me say this to you in no uncertain terms, that when you find honey on the ground, when you find love on the ground, opportunity on the ground, freedom on the ground, relationship on the ground, companionship on the ground, a new job on the ground, a new city on the ground, a new house, new car, a new whatever it is, and you find it on the ground, you have an obligation to be grateful for it. Every time I do my show, the Book of Sean, I ask my guests emphatically, invariably, I ask them to tell me what they're grateful for, because I refuse to let people sit in my presence and not have to recap the things that life has done for you. Do you not understand this? I'm going to use this as just as a metaphor. God has done more for you than the enemies of life have done to you. Do you hear what I'm saying? And I'm trying to get us to understand that when you find honey on the ground, you better be grateful. You don't act like finding honey is something simple. When I told you in the beginning of this conversation that most great things in your life, you're going to have to fight for, sacrifice for, struggle for, bleed for, change for, transform for, be different for. And every now and then you find something that you want and something that you need in a place that you can reach it. When that happens, you better be grateful. Don't you watch this program today. Don't you be a part of this conversation without giving thanks for all the honey you found. Do you have children? Honey. Do you have people that care about you? Honey. Do you have friends? Honey. Are you in an apartment, a condo, a house? Honey. Huh? Do you have a car? I don't care if you drive a Maybach or a Hoopty. Honey. Did you eat last night? Come on now. Honey. Do you have people you can trust and people you can confide in? Honey, do you have a job? Talk to me about that. It may not be $1 million opportunity, but are your bills being paid? Are your needs being met? Are you making more money today than you were making 6 months ago or a year ago? Let me help you with this. That's called honey. And when you find honey, what you need to do is thank the honey maker. I wish I had a shoe. I swear I'd throw it at you. When you find honey, you better thank the honey maker, because it is so rare and so uncommon to find what you want, and you don't even have to fight for it. It is something else. People ask me all the time, Dr. Sean, how'd you get on television? Honey on the ground. I found honey on the ground. I was at the Ricky Lake Show, being a guest at the Ricky Lake Show, minding my own business, and somebody tapped me on the shoulder and said to me, you should be on TV. That is exactly what happened. I was not on that show to be on TV. I was a guest talking about violence and shooting in Chicago. I was just a guest on the show. And somebody tapped me on my shoulder and said that I should be on TV. Honey on the ground. And now we're having this conversation because I know what to do when I find honey. I give thanks to the honey maker. Can we stop right here? And everybody watching, and wherever you may be watching, whatever state you may be in, can you just stop and just give thanks and just be glad that every now and then life gives you the best of what it has to offer, that life offers to you rays of sunshine and you don't have to pay for it. It gives you the air you breathe, and you don't have to work for it. Your lungs are working, your heart is beating, your mind is throbbing. Come on now. And you didn't have to regulate any of that. All of that is honey on the ground, and you ought to be glad about it. You ought to be grateful. And there are people in your life. There are people who care about you, who support you. We're not talking today about the people who hate you. I understand there are people who hate you, people who are trying to destroy you, people who want to mess up your future. But we're not giving them no time today. They get no lip service and no language today. Today, we celebrate the people who have stood by you, who have stood next to you, who have protected you, who have walked with you, who even after they judged you, they kept on loving you. Come on now. We celebrate the people who have been there for you. And every time you get support and attention and comfort and solidarity, we call that honey. Your mistakes have not destroyed you. Your failures have not ruined you. And the fact that you get to roll on and keep on living, guess what we call that? We call that honey. And somebody watching right now needs to understand how important it is, how significant it is that we have gratitude as our default position. You ought not be in this moment with me right now and not be grateful for something. If you're not grateful, then there's something wrong with you. You've allowed somebody who wanted you to be negative and mean-spirited to infect your very consciousness. There ought to be too much that you're grateful for, too much that you're thinking about and praising about and rejoicing about to allow anybody to come into your life or into your mind to pull you down into their craziness, down into their negativity, or to change your spirit. Every time you get low, you remember the honey on the ground. Every time you want to fall apart, you remember the honey on the ground, because there's honey in your life laying in a place where you can reach it, and I dare you to celebrate that. I got more for you. I'm just getting started. I'll be right back.
I was young when I learned there was a difference between us and them. The only crown I've ever worn is the one growing out of my head. But I have a secret that will expose them all. So whether they like it or not, I belong here.
One in three adults has pre-diabetes. That means it could be you, your favorite brother, your other brother, you, your football buddy, your football buddy, you, your plumber,
Breathe right into your foot.
your plumber's masseuse,
Yes.
you, your dog walker, your cat jogger. With early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org.
That's a new Louis Vuitton hat.
Fox Soul checks, they do me right.
TGIF.
And when you elevate a little better, you know you live a little better.
I need to see what about that Foxhole check. Elevate me some too. Shoot.
Serving up all the tea. Wednesdays and Fridays
You won't be an intern all your life. You know, we had a meeting,
on Fox Soul.
but we're going to bring you up to,
right.
cast member #1 status.
All right, I'll take it. That's right.
Every weekend, to get the true word on the street, you've got to speak the language.
It's time to put the culture back in pop culture.
Central Ave, a modern deep dive into entertainment that drives to the heart of the story. Fresh takes and authentic voices, bringing you the right show for right now.
Welcome to Central Ave.
Central Avenue. Weekends at 12 p.m. and 6 p.m. Pacific, right here on Fox Soul.
Welcome back, everybody. Today we're talking about honey on the ground, finding what you really want in a place that you can reach it. And so the story that I told you from 1 Samuel chapter 14 comes to bear. It comes into our full fruition. We're able to see that Jonathan, who was the son of Saul, finds honey on the ground. In the midst of the battle, Jonathan finds honey. He finds something good in a place where he can reach it. And it was on the ground. That's a significant part of the story, because you can find honey in a tree. That's pretty common, right? You can find honey on a branch. That's pretty common. Sometimes, bees will make hives in the strangest of places, right? And so you'll find honey in all kinds of different places. But to find honey laying on the ground, to find a hive in a place where it's not supposed to be, because what bee in his right mind builds a hive on the ground? Except that through the course of the natural occurrence of life, the winds and the waves, the snow and the sunshine, the hive fell down. And it fell down right at the right moment where Jonathan was able to take advantage of the opportunity, the honey that was right in front of him. Now, this was not the first time, for those of you who know something about this history, it's not the first time Israel found something on the ground. In the book of Exodus, they found manna on the ground, quail on the ground. Remember that story? When they would go out in the morning and find bread on the ground? But that's a different designation altogether. Let me tell you why it was different. They found what they needed to survive on the ground. You understand? Because, write this down, a starving man needs bread. A starving man needs bread. And they found bread on the ground. Not the first time they found something important on the ground. But back in Exodus, bread on the ground is different from honey on the ground. Here's how it's different. Because the politics of bread is sometimes it can be an insidious business. You see, survival was what was happening in Exodus. When you find bread on the ground, that's about survival. That's about getting what you need, because if you don't get it, you're going to die. Have you ever been there? Have you, I could raise both my hands. Have you ever been there? Have you ever been to the place in life where you just wanted bread on the ground? Forget honey. You needed some things to survive. And I got good news for you. The fact that you didn't die, you didn't lose your life, you didn't lose your mind says to me that at another stage of your life, prior to this moment, you in fact found bread somewhere. And I'm so glad that we live in a universe and in a world where bread shows up when we need it the most. That's a good place for you to say something wonderful. I said bread shows up when we need it the most. Huh? You have needed things, and you needed them to keep your spiritual life, your psychological life, and your physical life together. And something showed up to keep you alive. That's finding bread on the ground. I said that's finding bread on the ground. And all of us know what it is to find bread in a place where we can reach it. But I'm not talking about bread. I'm talking about finding honey. It's very different. To find bread is about survival. To find honey is about finding something that will remind you of the sweetness of life. You see, getting what you need is important, but getting what you want is a wonderful thing. Getting bread is about what you need. Getting honey is about what you want the most. And sometimes what you need may not be what you want. Give me a shoe. Sometimes what's keeping you alive right now, that ain't the vision. Sometimes the job you have that's paying the bills, that's not the dream. That's bread. And you're happy for the bread. You're thankful for the bread. You're glad that you found something to keep a roof over your head and clothes on your back, but it ain't sweet. It ain't honey. Today, I'm not talking about finding bread on the ground. I'm talking about finding honey. Not just somebody to lay next to you, that's bread. I'm talking about somebody beautiful, physically and emotionally and psychologically. That's honey. It's amazing because the Hebrew word, write this down, the Hebrew word for honey is the word dabash. Spell it any way you want to. It's dabash. And that word honey in Hebrew, dabash, it means sweetness. Write that down. It means sweetness. There are certain dietary implications about honey, and they take on a spiritual connotation. Here's what I'm trying to say. Jonathan found sweetness on the ground. He found dabash. He found honey. Not bread, but honey. Little did he know that his father had put out a law against enjoying the sweetness of life. This is important. Let's go there. His father passed a law that pretty much said you can't have bread, first of all, and you can't have any sweetness. And no one, according to Saul's law, no one could eat anything for survival, bread, or anything for sweetness, desire, Nobody could eat anything like bread or honey until Saul felt good about his war. Saul had to feel better about his day before anybody else could get what they needed or what they wanted. Saul didn't want anybody to eat anything until he felt better. Here's what I want you to notice. Notice the pettiness. Notice the manipulation. Notice the control. Notice how Saul was so prescient as it relates to managing other people's activities, right? Let me help you with this. There will always be people in your life who, when life puts something in front of you, they don't want you to bend down and pick it up. There will always be people in your life who, when you find not just what you need, but you have the audacity to find what you want, there will be a Saul somewhere who's passed the law in their own mind that says you shouldn't enjoy the honey you find because they don't feel good about the life that they're living. Swear if I had a shoe, I'd throw it at you. There will always be people who have an attitude about the fact that you found honey on the ground. Oh, how dare you find somebody to marry? How dare you have a good relationship? How dare you have self-esteem? What do you mean you got a job? There are people in your life right now who get mad about the fact that you have a job. They wanted you to stay unemployed. They like you when you're broke. They like you better when you're alone. These are the people who hide in the cracks and the crevices and the corners of your life, and you call them friends, but secretly they are enemies waiting to reveal themselves. You call them confidants, you think they're companions, but in truth, they are the people who've been sent into your life, let's say it better, who you've allowed into your life, that's the better way to say it, who you've allowed into your life, and they are hiding, waiting to sabotage the joy and the honey that you found. There will always be people who, when you find something sweet in front of you, they will go out of their way to make sure you feel guilty about picking it up. Lord have mercy. Oh, they don't want you to be happy because they're not happy. They don't want you to find love because they don't have any. They don't want you to feel secure because they feel insecure. They judge your life based upon what they're going through, and they're not able to wish you well even while they may be going through hell. You know you got a friend if your friend's in trouble, but they're able to celebrate the fact that you're not. I can't do this without a shoe. You know you got a friend if your friend doesn't have $5 in their pocket and you tell them how you went to the south of France and they are as happy for you as if they were there. If you find somebody who doesn't have all the money you have, all the access you have, all the education that you have, but they celebrate you and it has no, they take no bearing upon themselves, that is a friend you need to keep, because those are the people who don't get mad when you find what you want in a place that you can reach it. Please understand, you have to ask yourself sometime, why do some people get mad? Why do some people not want you to get what life is trying to offer you? Some people are offended. Some people are, it's amazing how some people are offended when your life gets better. I'm going to tell you why. Write this down, people. It is because hatred is not rooted in contempt. We think hatred is about contempt, but hatred is a lazy form of love. The content of hatred is envy. Most people who don't know you can't sufficiently hate you. It's the people who know you who create the content they need to have contempt for you, because hatred is a lazy form of love. Here's what I mean. They hate the fact that you are what you are. They hate the fact that you have what you have. And they hate you because they want to be you, but they're not willing to do the work to pull it off. Are you listening to me? I came to tell you in no uncertain terms, you will always be offensive to people who liked you better when you were small, when you were hungry, when you were thirsty, when you were crazy. You will always be offensive to people when you decide that you are going to pick up exactly what is in front of you. And I say this all the time to people who know me, and I'm going to say it to you right now. A part of being mature, and you know that you're grown, when you're willing to make some people mad. If you need to make everybody happy, if you need everybody to pat you on the back, you ain't grown yet. You grow up when you're willing to allow some people to be mad about the fact that you're willing to pick up what's in front of you. In this season, my prayer is that God would deliver you from the opinions and the recriminations of people, that you would be delivered from people, that you would not allow anybody in your life to stand between you and the thing that you want the most. Nobody's opinion, nobody's words, nobody's tweets, nobody's nothing should be strong enough to separate you from the thing that you want to. My prayer for your life is that you get delivered from people. That's my greatest prayer. Not that you get delivered from, I'll name it, crack. No. Let somebody else pray for you for that. Not that you get delivered from, I don't know, think of something else crazy. My prayer for you is that you get delivered from people. That you stop letting somebody in your life talk you out of picking up the honey that's in front of you. Oh my goodness. And you got somebody in your life who's telling you, don't do that. Don't grow that way. Don't try that. Don't reach for that. Don't put that in your spirit. We have people in our lives who don't want us to have it. But you got me today, and I'm going to make sure you have it before it's all over, because you've been fighting enough. You've been struggling enough. You've been down enough, and you deserve some honey on the ground. Welcome to the honey, people. I'll be right back. I'm about to shout.
I don't want to talk about it.
I don't want to talk about it.
Families don't have to talk about everything, but they should talk about how to plan for an emergency. Get tips and resources to make your family's emergency plan.
At home, socially distancing with COVID. I thought I would never catch it. I thought I was Superman. Nah, it caught me.
This weekend on Fox Soul.
Claudia, what are you drinking on, girlfriend?
Something ghetto. Watch. Oh, okay, Tito. She stepped it up.
Silver cup.
Watch your favorite shows of the week.
We do a full-on conversation and segment about abortion that's as heated as it gets on this show. And you talk about the dude with the afro.
Fox Soul Weekend.
Spending time outdoors has never felt more valuable. Whether it's exploring nature or relaxing in your yard, let's do it responsibly. Before going out, check for closures and fire restrictions. Practice social distancing, even when outside and on the trail. Back at home, if burning yard debris, keep your pile small. And no matter where you are, be sure to properly extinguish any outdoor fire. Drown, stir, drown, feel. We're all in this together. Help keep our safe places safe.
I was young when I learned there was a difference between us and them. The only crown I've ever worn is the one growing out of my head. But I have a secret that will expose them all. So whether they like it or not, I belong here.
Welcome back, everybody. I am trying to get you to appreciate the honey that lays on the ground. I've been talking to you from 1 Samuel 14, the story when Jonathan found honey on the ground and his father had passed a law saying that nobody could eat until he won the battle. And Jonathan reaches down in spite of the law and he puts what he wants and what he needs in a place where it could make him better. And before we took our break, one of the things I was praying for you, and I've been praying for you the whole time, is that you get delivered from people. Let me say this to you in no uncertain terms. You can't live your life for Saul. You can't live your life for your mothers and your fathers. I don't care how much you love them. You cannot live your life for your uncles and your aunts and your brothers and your sisters and those friends you've been knowing since you were in kindergarten. You can't live your life trying to make people happy who knew you most of your life. Just because somebody knows you all your life doesn't mean they have the right to control your life. Stop living your life for Saul. Stop sublimating the things that you want the most to make other people happy. You see, honey in their mouths won't taste sweet to you. Are you follow what I'm saying? Huh? The only honey that makes your life sweet is the honey that you put in your mouth. And we got to get to the place where we are willing to say to people, I'm sorry if my joy offends you. I'm sorry if my love offends you. I'm sorry if my work ethic and my dedication and my career offends you. I'm sorry that I'm driven. I'm sorry that I'm passionate. I'm sorry that I can't focus on little things and small things because I got something bigger calling me in the wee hours of the night. I'm sorry that the burden on my life is to be greater than this. I'm sorry that I don't find joy in doing the things that you do because you're not called to do and to become what I'm about to be. I'm sorry that you don't understand my dream, and I'm sorry that you don't understand my focus. I'm sorry you don't get my future, and I'm sorry you don't understand how much I'm not willing to compromise the best of me for anybody. I'm sorry that you don't understand that, but you got to be willing. You got to be willing to tell Saul, I'm sorry. No. Let me ask you a question. Whose life is this? Whose life is this? Whose life does this belong to? This is your life. You see? You got to own your life. Nobody else is going to help you. Nobody else is going to defend you. Nobody else is going to be there for you better than you need to be there for yourself. You understand what I'm saying to you? Whose life is this? Just because you gave birth to me, this still ain't your life. Just because you've been feeding me, this still ain't your life. Just because you've been supporting me, this is not your life. Are you hearing me? I need you to own your life. Think for yourself. Fight for yourself. Reach for yourself. Work for yourself. Build for yourself. So that when it's all said and done, you could look back at your days and you could give thanks for the life that you lived. And you understand that you did it in no uncertain terms, first and foremost, because you were committed to your own possibility. I don't know who I'm talking to, but there's somebody watching, and you've been spending far too much time listening to Saul, trying to make him happy, trying to submit to his customs and understandings, and trying to allow him to smile so that you won't reach what's in front of you. Women do this all the time. Men do it all the time, where we contort ourselves into strange shapes, twisting and turning the best of us to fit into boxes that other people have made for us so that they will smile and they will think we're acceptable and we won't have to be alone. The devil is a lie. I would rather be all alone trying to be myself rather than to live a good life trying to be somebody else. Let me tell you to your face, you and I have to get past this craziness where we think the more we make other people happy will translate into us having more of what we think and what we know that we want. It doesn't happen that way. It's never happened that way, and it's not going to happen that way for you. Saul does not want you to have honey because he's mad about how his day is going. People don't want you to find love because they're mad about the love that they can't find. People don't want you to take that job because they don't want you to leave. Because the moment you leave, it exposes the fact that they don't have the courage to do the same. People don't want you to ask for more because the moment you ask for more, it exposes the fact that they're comfortable with what they've been given, that they've settled, and they've reconciled themselves to it. People who traffic in darkness are offended by light, and people who traffic in lies are offended by the truth, and people who are not gifted are annoyed by people who are. And that is why I'm trying to tell you that just like Jonathan did, when you find what you want, you better have the courage to bend down and put that thing in your spirit, in your mouth, in your life, in your heart, and in your future. Watch people, hear me, watch the people who aren't clapping when you find honey. Every time you find something good, you ought to look around. Every time you start talking about the good thing that happened for you, just watch the faces of the people to whom you tell it. Because you can tell a lot about how people really feel about you when you celebrate and dance and they can't hear the music. Oh my God, where's the shoe when you need it the most? Watch people who aren't clapping when you find what you want. You understand? They broke, they want you to be broke. They lonely, they want you to be lonely. It is amazing that everybody who was there for you when you were broken may not be there for you when you get healed. And everybody who climbed the mountain with you may not have what it takes to come down with you on the other side. I don't understand people. I don't understand people. Can I just say this? I don't understand people who can't shout and celebrate somebody else's victory. At a certain stage in my career, most of my friends were more successful than me. Most of my friends had more money than me. They had more acclaim than me. They had more notoriety than me. And every time they would come back and tell me of the great article or the great interview or the great whatever, the great house or the great car that they got, I would celebrate with them because I know how to shout for somebody else's victory. You understand what I'm saying? I know how to celebrate when somebody else has gotten what they need. I don't need to win in order for me to appreciate victory. I just like being around people who are winning. I like being around people who are feeling good and thinking good and living good. If you cannot celebrate somebody else's victory, there's something wrong with you. I want you to get this today because everybody doesn't want you to win, but there's some people who do. And those are the people you need to give more time to. Those are the people you need to focus on and be comfortable being around because those are the people who understand that when you find honey on the ground, there's no time for resentment. There's no time for recrimination. There's no time for bitterness. When you find honey on the ground and you didn't have to fight for it, and you didn't have to die for it, and you didn't have to bleed for it. When you find honey on the ground, you have a moral obligation to stop, to bend down, and to pick it up. You better pick it up. That's what I want to tell you today. You better pick it up, because you might not get another chance to get what you want for the rest of your life. Let's take this break. Be right back.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma. I have a mentor, and she convinced me to continue my education. No one receives a diploma alone. If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, go get it. You can do it.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back.
Dad!
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
Meet the Scan, a simple procedure whose mission is to detect lung cancer early.
I'm here to save you.
But I feel fine.
That's great, but you may still be at high risk for lung cancer.
Oh man, that's a new fence.
If you smoke, early detection could save your life. Learn more at savedbythescan.org.
Do you think Bill Cosby should lay down low for a little while before he jumps right back into the limelight?
Cocktails with the Queens.
So he's supposed to lay down because what, of age? Or because he went to jail? Martha Stewart came out of jail and did her thing.
Sip and serve every Monday night.
What's kind of funny to me is when he was going to trial, he was all, I'm blind, I can't do nothing. He had them eyes looking like a sick goldfish. And now he want to do stand-up comedy, he want to produce, he want to hey.
Like, I'm back.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm clear about one thing emphatically. When you find something that you didn't have to fight for, that you didn't have to struggle to get, when you find something that you really want, something you've been desiring, and it's in a place where you can reach it, I'm clear about the fact that you have a moral obligation to pick it up. Don't you let nobody convince you that you don't have the right or the obligation or the opportunity to pick up what it is you've been waiting for. Let me ask you a question. Would you walk by $1 million? If you were walking down the street and $1 billion was laying there, would you walk by it? Of course you wouldn't. And if you would, you crazy. If you would, you out of your mind. Let me ask you another question. Would you walk past a bucket of diamonds? There was a bucket of diamonds sitting on the sidewalk. Would you walk by it? Of course you wouldn't. And if you would, you crazy. Let me tell you something. But we do it all the time. Don't we do it all the time? We walk past freedom. We walk past self-respect. We walk past joy. We skip right past love. We don't pick up happiness. We don't pick up joy. We don't pick up gratitude every morning. And it's laying on the ground. I said it's laying on the ground. We run right by relationship. Act like it don't matter. When it's laying on the ground. If you would stop for $1 million, if you would stop for $1 billion, if you would stop for a bucket of diamonds, tell me why you won't stop for gratitude, why you won't stop for happiness, why you won't stop and pick up self-respect, pick up your own freedom. I know you hear me. I said pick up your own freedom because these are the many manifestations of honey that are littering our lives. Matter of fact, let's just go there. When you step out of your house every day, the bottom of your sneakers should be sticky because you're stepping in honey all the time. We act like nothing is happening. Your life is littered with honey. We don't pick it up. We don't pick it up. We act as if it's melancholy, as if it's, mundane, as if it's banal, as if it's common, as if it is part of the juxum and the fluxum of ordinary living. I came to tell you there are people right now who are laying in painful places who would love to have the honey that you refuse to pick up. There are people who are lonely right now who would love to have the husband or the wife that you won't stop and honor. There are people who want to have kids, who would kill to have children, who would love to have the opportunity that you have to come home to children. They love the kids that you won't respect and you won't honor. It's amazing to me. It's amazing to me how we have allowed life and evil and whatever it is to convince us not to pick up what it is we found. But there's too much honey on the ground, people. There's too much honey on the ground. And sometimes you got to say to yourself, wait a minute, I got to stop and pick this up. I can't be so committed to the battle that I don't have a sense of the rewards that manifest themselves in front of me. Sometimes we can be so committed to the struggle that we don't even realize that honey is laying right in front of us. Sometimes you got to tell yourself and your friends and whoever else is around you, I got to pick this up. I got to pick this up. And sometimes you have to pick up what you want without the permission of the people who love you the most. Sometimes you have to pick up honey when people don't want you to have it. But you understand that what you want and what you need is just as important as what they think. In fact, as far as I'm concerned, it's more important than what they think. Sometimes you got to pick up the honey without their permission, and you got to pick it up without their approval. Have you ever had to do something? You ever had to make a decision and you didn't have the support of your family and friends? I know I'm talking to all of you. Have you ever had to make a hard decision, take a long leap in the dark, and nobody supported you in what you were doing, but you understand that there might be honey over there, so you were willing to jump to reach your honey? Sometimes you have to do it without the permission, the support of the people you love the most, but your commitment to yourself must be greater than your commitment to even the people you care about. I like what Jonathan said. Jonathan said about his father. Jonathan said, look, my father's the king. Yes, he is. But this law he made, this law that nobody can eat, that's a bad law. Look at what Jonathan is saying. Jonathan is saying, my father's my father, but I'm clear about who he is. You see, every now and then, beloved, I want to invite you to be clear about seeing a situation for what it is and seeing people for who they are, because sometimes you have to call a thing a thing. We talk about this a lot, and I just need to say it because I think it's important. That not everybody is a supporter, not everybody's a friend, not somebody's going to be there clapping for you and celebrating. You really do have haters. You really do have people who don't want you to win. And it's important that you call a thing and see people for who they are. It is a melancholy truth that the sooner you see people for who they are, the more free you become, the more liberation you enjoy. Because, follow me on this, I never get mad. Listen, I never get mad when people do what I expect. Did you hear what I just said? I never get mad when people do what I knew they were capable of. I assessed you on the first day. I knew you were a liar. So when you lie, I don't get mad. I knew you were a thief. So when you steal, I don't get mad. You follow me? I don't get mad at people for doing exactly what I knew they were capable of doing. It's when people manifest themselves in a way that is so duplicitous that you didn't expect it that you have a right to be hurt. But if people come in your life and you already know what they're capable of and they do it to you, you don't have a right to get mad. Who do you think you are? You think all of a sudden now they talk about everybody else, and you think all of a sudden they don't talk about you. It is a melancholy truth, brothers and sisters. It is a melancholy truth that we lose our honey chasing after other people's issues. We lose our honey because we're following other people down their rabbit hole. We lose our honey trying to help other people find the bread that they need. I'm not saying we shouldn't help people. I'm not saying we shouldn't support people. But I am saying in no uncertain terms, that unless you are committed to your own honey, you will help other people find what they need, and you'll never get what you deserve. Oh, my goodness. It's not your job to dance to somebody else's music for the rest of your life. What about your music? What about what you care about? What about what you deserve? You're still important, and your needs should be met. And that's what this is about. I got more right after this.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back.
Dad!
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
I know what you're thinking. I need a job. I need a new career.
Well, I've been there.
I've been there.
I've been there. I wasn't happy with what I was doing.
After high school, I didn't have a plan.
I just wanted to start working. I got laid off twice, but you gotta keep
You
going.
just need the right skills. Find an apprenticeship.
I found a 2-year IT program.
I found a medical course online.
I'm now a consultant in the tech space.
You have more options than you think. You can do this.
You will find something.
You will find something new.
At home, socially distancing with COVID. I thought I would never catch it. I thought I was Superman. Nah, it caught me.
This weekend on Fox Soul.
Maria, what are you drinking on, girlfriend?
Something
ghetto. Watch. Oh, okay, Tito. She's stepped it up.
Silver cup.
Watch your favorite shows of the week.
We do a full-on conversation and segment about abortion that's as heated as it gets on this show. And you talk about the dude with the afro.
Fox Soul Weekend.
Here's to the things that can keep us safe. Those we use all the time with hardly a thought. Those that are silently standing by to save our lives. And now, those that we carry with us everywhere we go. Many mobile devices will now bring you wireless emergency alerts, real-time information directly from local sources you know and trust. With the unique sound and vibration, you'll be in the know wherever you are.
Welcome back, everybody. Today we're talking about honey on the ground. When great things happen, when good things appear, and you find what you really want out of life in a place that you can reach it. We've also been talking about Saul and how Saul made an edict that nobody could eat anything or drink anything until he felt better about his war. But Jonathan came along and found honey on the ground and decided to put it in his mouth, because sometimes you got to be committed to receiving what you've been praying for. To me, it is so important that we understand Saul's participation in this story, because in life there are more Sauls than there are Jonathans. Over the course of your life, you will encounter more people who don't want certain things for you than you will encounter people who are willing to pick up what they find. And it allows us for a second to have just a little small conversation about bitterness, about how bitterness has corrupted so many people on so many levels. There's so many people living with so many different kinds of trauma, so many different kinds of recriminations, that bitterness becomes their default setting. They see the world through bitterness. They squint. They see the world through resentment. They see the world as if it is a scenario of each against all, me against you. Only I can win. One of us has to lose. There's so many people in the world right now, and that's how they approach living. And that's how they will respond to you when you find what you've been wanting and waiting for. That's how, don't be surprised when some of the people in your life don't respond the way you thought they would. There are people right now who are still mad about your wedding. They're still mad about the fact that you're not single anymore, because they don't know how to get past their own bitterness so that they can appreciate the presence of your joy. You see, sometimes the higher spiritual journey is learning how to assess someone and how to say, this may be a good man, but this is not his best day. Sometimes you have to look at the people in your life and say, yeah, I love you. You are a good woman, but this is not your best moment. You see, that is maturity. When you can understand that somebody else's issue is clouding their participation in your moment. And you may have to kick them out your moment, but you don't have to banish them from your life. A shoe right now would be so helpful. Sometimes you have to say to people, you can't be in this moment, but I will not put you out of my life. because you are a good person. You are a good man. You are a good woman. You're just having a terrible moment. You got to be prepared to make those distinctions. You got to be prepared to have that kind of discernment. And sometimes, quite frankly, you just have to love yourself more than you love other people. And sometimes you just have to want what you've been wanting more than you want to please other people. It's amazing to me because my question is this: do you love yourself enough to reach for what you want? Do you love yourself enough to reach for what you've been waiting for? Do you love yourself enough to pick up the honey that's right in front of you? You are already in position for great things, already on the path for something special. And are you going to let somebody else's opinion or the lack of their support or them walking away drive you away from the honey? Huh? You got to ask yourself this fundamental question. Do you love yourself enough to give yourself the chance that you deserve to enjoy what you've been fighting and working for all this time? You know, sometimes I've had to do this in my own life. I've had to tell people, you know what, I love you, but there's honey on the ground. Oh, I love you to death, but there's honey on the ground. And don't make me choose between you and my honey. When I lived in Chicago before I moved to LA, I was working in a particular industry, doing quite well, had a lot of supporters and a lot of friends. But I always knew that my honey was not in Chicago. I knew that my honey was in LA. And everybody, when I told them I was moving, everybody thought I was crazy. What are you doing? Why are you going? You built this great life here. You hear me? I was living good. Things were going really well. And why are you leaving? Because I understood where the honey was. I knew there was honey somewhere else. They could not hear the music I was dancing to. I didn't expect them to be able to move. They couldn't hear the music. And I had to tell them, I love you so much, but there's honey on the ground, people. And you better not come between me and the honey. Because when you find something you don't have to fight for, and you don't have to work for it, and it's just given to you, you better have the courage and the temerity and the faith to pick it up. Let me say this to you in no uncertain terms. God has promised you honey. Life is going to bring you some honey. Before it's all over, you're not going to have to fight for everything. You won't have to bleed for every victory. You are going to have a sweatless victory sooner or later. You're going to have something that comes into your life that you didn't even know was coming. And I have to beg you, I got to beg you, when that happens, will you promise me that you will pick it up? When you walk into the great blessing, the great next moment and miracle of your life, will you pick it up? Promise me that you won't leave honey on the ground. Promise me that you'll have the courage to say, this is for me, and I deserve this, and I want this, and I need this, and I'm going to enjoy this. You owe yourself all the time you've spent working to enjoy some of what you've been working to have. You should enjoy it. Pick it up. Don't let anybody make you feel bad because you've decided to choose your honey. You've decided to choose the sweet thing, the sweetness of the work and the life you've been planning for. There's nothing wrong with choosing your honey. There's nothing wrong with saying to Saul, you're my guy. I love you to death, but there's honey on the ground. It's amazing to me because I want to invite you to pick up all the joy, all the liberation, all the peace of mind, all the grace of mercy that you found. I want you to reach down and grab it with your hands and put it in your life. When there's honey in front of you, you have a moral obligation to put it in your life. Don't leave no honey on the ground. Pick it up, wrap it around your shoulders, and drink it with your spirit because it is a gift given to you that few people will ever recognize and fewer still will ever receive. There's honey on the ground. It's available. What you want in a place where you can reach it. And I would today that you would know the beauty of that you would understand the dexterity of that you would be able to appreciate that. I would today that you would know it in no uncertain terms. Honey on the ground. So let there be honey. Let it flow in your life. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching Fox Soul Sunday. I will see you next Sunday. God bless you, beloved. Be good to each other. I love you.